Hey everyone, and welcome to Upcycled Adulting, my YouTube channel where I help you upcycle your real life into your best life by teaching you how to overcome obstacles, grow to accomplish your goals, and create healthy habits. And today we're going to be talking about sharing the load, probably the biggest stressor for women everywhere. I cannot tell you the number of times I hear women talking about how frustrating it is and how much they resent that they are not getting help with the domestic load. And the truth is that while women are busy in the workforce and oftentimes the primary breadwinners in their homes, they are still carrying the majority of the domestic load. So today I'm going to share 5 steps to sharing the load, and that means cooking, cleaning, laundry, and even the mental load portions of all of those tasks. Now, these 5 steps have worked for me in my own home, getting my 5 children and my partner to step up and share the load without me having to nag or remind or just get sick of it and do it myself. And I have taught many, many clients how to do this as well, and they have had similar success. So I have to tell you this, there's a pretty good chance that this technique will work for you. Number one, the very first thing you want to do is make a list. Make a list of all the things that you are currently doing. Now, you can do this using the Notes app in your phone, by carrying around a notebook, things like that. But I have to tell you, one of the problems with sharing the load, one of the reasons why we as women carry so much of it is because we're not even aware of all the things that we're doing throughout the day. And it gets overwhelming. It gets stressful. It goes completely unnoticed and unappreciated. And I understand a lot of you may feel that it isn't your job. This isn't your job. It shouldn't be your job. Other people should notice that things need to get done and they should be doing it too. But here's the deal, and I talk about this a lot. I know it's controversial. I understand that. But I think it's important to recognize that there is a culture of domestic load carrying among women. There is an indoctrination that happens to girls, young girls, all the way through childhood, and that carries on through adulthood for women regarding noticing all of the cooking, all of the cleaning, all of the laundry. And it is consistently reinforced with judgment regarding what it looks like, right? It is very uncommon for men to be concerned that someone is going to judge them personally about the condition or cleanliness of their home or what they brought to the potluck or anything like that, right? And so it's important to recognize that because men are not indoctrinated in this way, because they don't live in that culture, that they don't speak the language, all right? And what do I mean by that? People who are brought up in bilingual homes, my friend is bringing up her son in a bilingual home. And he already speaks way more Spanish, way more clearly than I ever did taking 6 years of Spanish because it's part of his life. It just is second nature for him to speak both Spanish and English. For me, it's not, and it's really hard to learn. I don't really know the language. I don't really have a lot of other people I can speak to in the language. And this is part of what happens for men when it comes to domestic load. Men do not have other men to share cleaning tips with. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Men don't tend to judge other men about the cleanliness of their homes. Men don't fear receiving that judgment or feeling ostracized because they're not doing a good job there. Men are not indoctrinated in this from early childhood. And for that reason, this is like learning a second language. So we have to find a way to bridge that gap first. And part of bridging that gap is creating awareness about what happens in your home, therefore writing the list. Now, if you truly object to writing the list, you don't want to do that, you feel really frustrated by it, it adds more work to your plate, and God knows you don't need more work, you can also opt for buying the Fair Play cards. Go through them, separate out the things that don't happen or need to happen in your home. For example, there's a lot of childcare cards. Maybe you don't have children, and so you want to just set those aside. That's okay. And in addition, having the Fair Play cards may help you identify things that you want to let go of, that you don't want in your stack, that you don't care about having done in your home. And that is a great option as well. And then give you the opportunity to add things that are specific to you and your household that matter. So definitely check that out if keeping that list is feeling overwhelming or stressful, or if you feel highly resentful of that. But I do hope that clarifying the cultural difference here is helpful in giving you a little bit of perspective or feeling a little less frustrated with this. One of the big things that we're trying to do here in sharing the load is to model differently to our children, to break this generational curse, to make this not a thing going forward. And that is really important. Generations before have started moving in that direction, and we have the space now to continue that progress and to make sure that our sons and daughters are both speaking the same language when it comes to domestic tasks and domestic care, and that that's not only on the girls, right? Now, number two is to define the details. All right. It's really important that we're clear about what the details of that task are. What are the supplies needed? What constitutes that task being done? When does it need to be done? Is this a weekly task? Does it need to be done by Friday night, Saturday morning, by Wednesday night, right? What are the things that go into doing that task? It's really important to think about this because a lot of times I hear people talking about domestic tasks and how they're not getting done properly. And certainly there is some weaponized incompetence, but there is also the space where we know what doing that task means to us, but someone else doesn't necessarily know. There are tasks that I do in really particular ways, and I want them done that way. There are tasks that maybe I think if you clean the kitchen, that includes doing blank. You may not think that that includes doing blank, right? A great example of this is that in my mom's house when I was growing up, mopping the floors, cleaning the floors meant getting a bucket and a sponge and doing it on your hands and knees. That's how it was done in her house. There were specific cleaning products for specific rooms. There was a whole process about how that got done. In my dad's house, it meant getting a mop and a bucket, right? We had one linoleum floor. We used the same cleaning product for that whole floor. You just used a mop and a bucket. In my house now, because I have tile floors and I also have wood floors, that involves water on the tile, Murphy's oil soap on the wood, and again, a mop and a bucket. I use an O-Cedar. I love it. Can't say enough good things about it. But knowing what the task entails is really important because it helps to define the parameters of what that task looks like. And that matters a lot. In addition to understanding what cleaning supplies go into that, and including when you define the details, that it is the job of the person whose task it is to put the cleaning supplies on the list, the shopping list, when they're running low. That makes a huge, huge difference. And pro tip on this, have two of whatever the cleaning supplies are. And when the second one gets opened, it goes on the shopping list. That way you don't have those gaps where you don't have them. Making sure that there's clarity around what the details of that task are, make it easier for someone to take the whole task off your list. So everything, including the mental load of the task, the supplies, the how the task gets done, the timing of the task, someone else will own that task. So as many details as you can include, the better. All right. And be sure that if someone else in your house currently is managing that task, that you check in with them about what those details look like, because there are cases where we want to include things like, for example, yard work. Maybe someone else in your house is doing that. Maybe someone in your house currently does laundry. You want to make sure that you know what are all of those items on the checklist that need to be done. In my home, multiple people handle the supplies for laundry because all of my kids do their own laundry. And so that means that as part of their task, they need to make sure that they let us know about the cleanings, about the supply need, right? Before somebody else's turn to do the laundry. And with 5 kids in the house, that basically meant that every single day laundry was going. Someone was doing laundry in the house. And so leaving an empty detergent container for the next person could throw off the entire schedule and was a huge, huge headache, especially if the person who left the empty container didn't drive, right? If it was one of the older kids, they could just go to the store and get it. So make sure that you define the details and you know what the details are. Number 3 is consider the 3 Ps. Now I'm going to go through these in order of importance from least important to most important, and I'm going to explain what each of these are and what they mean. The first P is proficient. Who is most proficient at doing the job, at doing that particular task? Now, in most cases, anybody in your house could become proficient at that job. It doesn't mean your 3-year-old will become proficient tomorrow, but the jobs can be taught and most people can learn how to do them. However, considering proficiency really matters when you have a time crunch. So one of the big proficiency items that needs to be considered is actually cooking and cleaning up the kitchen. And the reason that needs to get considered is if you have kids that are in activities, it may make sense for the person most proficient at doing that to do that job on activity nights because you don't have time to mess around with teaching somebody else how to do it or the prolonged amount of time it may take someone to do it. You may choose that since no one in your house is really proficient at that and you do have a time crunch, that those are the days that you eat out or those are the days that you do breakfast for dinner or that you do something really simple like heating up meals in the microwave, right? Throwing a lasagna in the oven because no one's proficient and you just don't have the time to mess with it. Understanding who's most proficient can help you create clarity also about who will be instructing what. Here's the thing that I want to just caveat in this space, which is in a lot of cases, in a lot of um, heterosexual partnerships, the woman is proficient at a lot of the domestic tasks because of this indoctrination, and the man may not be proficient in as many, or he may be proficient in none. All right. If that is the case in your home, that your partner is not proficient at any of the domestic tasks, it's really important, vitally important, that we actually create balance in that space first. It's important that both partners have, meaning both of the adult partners in the home, have proficiency in some of the domestic tasks. And the reason why is that when it comes to kids doing chores or kids contributing, for us to break this cycle, for us to really make movement in this area, it's essential that both parents are modeling proficiency in domestic tasks, teaching domestic tasks to the children, and supervising domestic tasks. That cannot all be mom's job. Okay. It cannot all be mom's job. That has to be shared in the partnership. So if you find that you are partnered in a way that your domestic partner is, and especially if you are opposite genders, that your domestic partner is not proficient in any tasks, they are not able to teach or supervise any tasks for the children or model any tasks for the children, get that gap bridged first so that they can contribute to that particular task, which is addressing the children's chores. All right. The second is particular. That's the second P. If someone in your home is really particular about how a task gets done, that it has to be done a very specific way, and that very specific way is not something that is easily teachable, all right, or that very specific way is very difficult for someone else in your home, it's important to identify that. One of the considerations when we think about particularity is sensory issues. It's important in my household because I'm neurodivergent. I have a child who has autism to consider sensory processing challenges. My child with autism struggles with water. And if you struggle with water and you are taking on domestic tasks, that's pretty difficult to close. So it was really important in our house to have supplies like gloves. And it was also important to consider that it might be best for our child who has challenges, sensory challenges around water, to dust or to vacuum rather than their primary chore being dishes. Now, everyone in our house pitched in to clean up the kitchen after dinner, including them, and we had gloves and different supplies to help with that. But it is an important thing to consider. In addition, if you are incredibly particular, so much so that you are going to find yourself redoing something, right? Then you may want to own that task so that you don't feel like you have to go back and consistently check on it. This is especially important when you're teaching people who haven't done the task before how to do it. Just having that tolerance that as they're learning, they may struggle to do it that particular way. And also knowing that when someone else owns the task, it's okay to make space for them to create their own method or their own way of doing the task. And that can be incredibly difficult with certain tasks. I know for me, that is difficult with one particular task that I'm going to talk about in the next P. The third P is peeved. This is by far the most important of the P's. All right. And the reason why this is so important is because what I mean by peeved is it will drive you to distraction if it is not done or it's not done the way that you prefer. Now, I feel this way about my bed. All right. I am incredibly particular about my bed, and I will be peeved to the point of distraction, peeved to the point of having to get up in the middle of the night and strip my bed and remake it if it's not done the way that I want it done. Okay. For that reason, I own that task. That is always my job. That is always something that I do because I like it the way I like it, and I cannot let it go. I cannot leave it alone. The sheets must be washed at least once a week. Must. The corners need to be tucked. The pillows need to be fluffed down. And I have to say this, the zipper or the seam of the pillow needs to be at the end of the pillowcase. I am like Monica, okay, when it comes to my bed. There is a specific corner that the tag needs to be in. It is absolutely very specific, and it will absolutely not be tolerated by me. I cannot sleep in the bed if it's not made this way. My husband owns the laundry job. Now, before my husband took the laundry job, right, before that was actually given to him as his job in the house, I really needed to consider whether or not I was willing for him to do the laundry job, even though I would still own the laundering of the bed. He washes and dries the sheets, but I strip the bed and I remake it on laundry day. Now, I was willing to do that because I hate the rest of the laundry. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do any of the rest of the laundry. I forget to cycle it. I leave it in the washer. I leave it in the dryer. I forget to fold it. I forget to get it put away. I forget all of the miscellaneous steps of doing the laundry. And I don't mind folding laundry while I'm watching a show, but I will forget to get it out of the dryer. All right. And so he owns the rest of the laundry task because I don't want to deal with it. Right. I just don't want to deal with it. And he also generates more laundry than me, but I still hold on to the bed. All right. Now, at that point, because the bed peeves me so much and it is involved in the laundry task, and many of you may consider stripping the beds to be part of the laundry task, I needed to determine whether or not to unplug that from the laundry task and give my partner the laundry task because I have to deal with that bed. That's just the way it is. There's two tasks in my house that I feel very peeved by to the point of distraction, and both of those are on my list of things to do. Now, step number 4 is to divvy the duties. I have found that it is most effective to divvy the duties by having people in your home choose the jobs that they will do. When people choose, they feel like they own that task and they feel more responsible to it. There are less reminders required. And when those reminders or hangups or hiccups happen, the you chose this actually is very helpful. It can be difficult to do that because sometimes people are like, I don't want to do any of it, right? I mean, we have kids who are like, I don't want to do any of those jobs. Why are those my jobs? All right. What we did to get around that is we used love and logic, which is a gentle parenting method in which you give the person two choices, both of which you can live with. So we would say, you can mop the floors or you can vacuum the floors. You get to pick. All right. And giving the choice actually made all the difference in the world. There will oftentimes be jobs that no one in your house wants to do. That doesn't mean those are your jobs. That means that you can rotate those jobs. You can put them on a rotation. So each person takes a turn doing the job. Now, one of the things that was really helpful in my home as I was growing up, but that was not as beneficial in my home as an adult, was growing up, we had a time of day, we had a time in the week where we all did our jobs together. All right. We each had a chore. We worked together to do those chores. On Saturday morning between 10 and 11, we would turn on really loud Motown music in the house and we would each do our respective jobs, and then everything was done. And then generally while we were doing the jobs, my dad would make breakfast. And so after we were done cleaning, we'd enjoy this nice big breakfast. We'd all clean up the kitchen together. And that's how we would start our weekend. That worked really well in my home growing up. It didn't work so well for me with my kids because I have children with special needs, because I myself struggle with time blindness and some other executive functioning things, and because of conflicting schedules with activities. With 5 kids, it was difficult to find a window when all of us were home, all of us could do this, and where we wouldn't be trying to eke out as much family time as possible, since that was a relatively rare occasion. So, whatever works best in your home, I would lean into that. But again, as you divvy the duties, be sure that everyone understands what duties are connected to which, meaning if somebody has vacuumed the floors, that needs to happen before the mopping, right? If someone has a deep kitchen clean and the floors have already been done, it's really important that they are not wiping crumbs onto the floors, right? So just having an awareness of interdependency and also being sure to communicate timeline. This gets done once a week. This gets done every day, whatever that happens to look like. Number 5, and this is the most important one and the most difficult one, is let it go. Let it go. The reason why you did not share the load of something that is particularly peeving to you is so that you can let it go. The only way to effectively share the load long term is to let it be handled by the person whose job it is. Meaning, you do not supervise it. You do not remind. Unless they're new to the job and you have agreed to offer reminders, you do not remind. So you are not nagging. You do not do it for the person. You do not go behind them and fix it. That does not happen. The job cannot rotate if it's not done and done properly. There can be consequences for the job not getting done that are just very matter of fact. For example, I will not cook in a kitchen that is trashed. So if you guys don't get on top of putting your dishes in the dishwasher, if you don't blank, I'm not cooking in there and you're on your own for dinner. I generally hold cooking as my job because I love doing it. I'm very proficient at it. I'm good at it, right? I have very specific dietary requirements. So there's a lot of reasons why I hold that job. Now, I, however, never have had to remind anybody to do their part in cleaning up the kitchen because my husband likes my cooking and he doesn't want to deal with cooking. So he will generally supervise the kitchen cleaning. He will make sure that everything is ready so that I can go in there and cook. Having both partners committed to teaching the jobs, helping supervise the jobs, and reminding of jobs is incredibly beneficial because it helps to model to the children in the house that domestic load is everyone's job, that it is not a gendered job. Okay, it is everyone's job. And that matters. Now, to keep everyone as motivated as possible, I'm going to offer you this little pro tip. Create an attitude of gratitude in your home. Catch each other doing well. And by the way, this needs to be coming towards you too. It's really funny because my partner and I are up at our up north house this week, and we got here. We hadn't been here for a while, and there were some jobs that just needed to be done in the house. They were driving me to the point of distraction. And so I actually got them done after he went to bed that night, just a little touch up in the cleaning. And he got up the next day. I got up the next day. And the first thing he said to me is, wow, the house looks really great. Thank you so much for taking care of that. As a side note, what I responded to him was, did you even notice? Because these were things that were bothering me, but not things I thought he would notice, right? And he was like, well, I did notice that it was tidier and I did appreciate that. And so actually offering each other validation and appreciation and feedback in a positive way goes a long ways, because when people feel like they're accomplishing something, when they feel like they're winning, when they feel like they're appreciated, they're more likely to engage. So create an attitude of gratitude. And for you, who may have been carrying most of the domestic load this whole time completely unnoticed, please know that one, sharing the load is going to create awareness about what you have been doing already. And that two, it is acceptable, reasonable, and absolutely essential that you begin changing the way you talk about this, and that you begin reminding your family that they are not helping you. This is not your job alone. And that showing appreciation to one another for working together as a family in managing your home and the tasks in your home matters, because you are a family that validates one another, that encourages one another, that sees each other doing well, trying hard, right? Working together as a team. It's okay to say, hey, mom did your laundry. What do you have to say? Right? I got that bathroom cleaned. Did anybody notice? It's okay to say that, because we need to start creating that kind of communication in our homes and families so that we can all feel appreciated and we can all feel engaged and responsible for caring for our homes and families. All right, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am doing extensive content around stress and domestic load and all the things that are feeling like a heavy burden right now that are keeping you from being able to accomplish your goals, to live the life that is really fulfilling and makes you happiest, because you deserve that. You deserve it. You are absolutely amazing, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everyone.